Whew. Hey, so my name is Billy Heather. I'm 32 years old. I live in Western New York, and this is how I met Jesus. I grew up in a very well-off home. My dad made a lot of money. My sister and I were very comfortable. Originally I'm from the East Coast, lived in Illinois, New Jersey, New York, parts of Massachusetts. But when I was 13, my parents had a pretty severe divorce. My mom being a drug addict, my dad, just trying to do the best he can to navigate through a wife with mental illness. And so at 13, they split, and from that moment on, I knew that I was going to be free to do whatever I wanted. And so in high school, I just kind of met friends that weren't necessarily the party goers. I didn't like to go out and party, but I sure did like to smoke or take a pill or find a way to escape. When I was 18, graduated high school, that's when I first started experimenting with ecstasy. I had a friend that had introduced me to it through dance music, and I didn't know that one night with him in Little Coachella would start a 3-year addiction to not just MDMA, but the entire escapism that is raving. I used to go to a rave once a month for about a 3-year period. There was raves like Nocturnal and Monster Massive and Together as One and Love Fest and all these cool little catchy names. But for me, I would just go and dance and take pills and try to go as far as I could away from reality. I was trying to escape and find something. Escape from the emptiness in life that I didn't seem to care about. I was living in LA when I was 20 years old, and I remember going to work one day and just having a crazy pain in my right side. And like most men, I just waited a long time to go get it checked. And when I went to go get it checked, they did a few tests on me and ran a few scans. And before I knew it, I was sitting in a doctor's office in North Hollywood, little cramped space, and I found out at 20 years old I had stage 4 testicular cancer. This was something I couldn't escape from. This was something I couldn't just pop a pill and disappear. Cancer literally became what defined this period of my life. There's no real way to prepare for chemotherapy. They kind of tell you what to expect, what it's going to do to your body. And what I found so interesting about chemo was it was supposed to be a medicine that healed my disease, but in the process it was killing everything else. And it was in that moment, in the chemo chair, I got a picture of the gospel. What I was doing in raves, what I was doing in drugs and escaping was looking for something I thought would heal me, but like chemo, it killed everything else in the process. Throughout chemotherapy, I'd go on to lose my hair. I'd drop about 50 pounds, but every single week I'd show up in my local church and ask God to meet with me. I'd ask God to come with me. I'd carry my Bible into the chemo room, and I'd remember reading Psalm 23 for the first time in chemo, saying, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me." That kind of peace, even in a moment like that, it just changes what it means to suffer. Chemotherapy showed me that suffering connected me to Jesus. It didn't dismiss who he was. It actually revealed my need for him. Because whatever you think about who Jesus is, don't forget this. He has accomplished something we couldn't. Did 9 months of chemotherapy, had 4 different major procedures done, just kind of went on a journey. And I remember the kid that I used to buy drugs from, his dad was the janitor at a local church in town. And he had told me when I was over there buying drugs one time, he said, you need to go to church. And I remember thinking well, if I'm going to die from cancer, there is a God. If there is somebody up there I got to answer to, it wouldn't hurt to get right with him. So I remember going to this church and hearing the pastor preach.
God has anointed you because he's appointed you. I lost everything. You didn't lose everything. You lost possessions, but you didn't lose Jesus. I mean, you're valuable, man.
It was in that moment that I had heard the gospel. I didn't just encounter a message that forgave me for everything I did wrong. I felt like I met somebody that did something for me before I could do anything wrong. Somebody that accomplished something that no amount of error in my life could stop. It was in that moment, January of 2012, that I encountered Jesus. To go from a raver looking for love and acceptance and peace to a cancer patient literally dying from the inside out. The gospel became so real to me in that moment because it wasn't just something to believe. It was a sense of my value. I remember hearing about what Jesus had done for me, and it wasn't even that I had to match all these boxes and, fit a standard for this love. I remember thinking about raves where I would be laying on the floor just frying my brains out. I remember thinking about all the women in my life that I kind of treated wrong, the things and people that I manipulated to have my way. Even then, the love of God became still accessible to me. My testimony obviously is not common, but the story of the gospel is the same no matter what your story is. Romans chapter 5 says that while we were still sinning, it says that while we were still raving, while we were still manipulating, conniving, while we were still abusing and trying to find our own way, while we were still escaping, and while we were still searching, and while we were still trying to come up with all the false ideas of what life is about, it says while we were doing that, Christ died for us. After 9 months, I found out in that same doctor's office with that same doctor, the one that told me I had cancer, was then 9 months later telling me that it was gone and that Jesus had healed my life. God called me to ministry just to share my story and how good he had been. Became a youth pastor, campus pastor, and just recently a lead pastor as we moved from California to New York to plant our own church, Gospel Church. I am who I am today because of Jesus. My story isn't perfect. There's plenty more that I can't wait to share on this channel about my testimony, but I wanted you to know that no matter how far you are, even if you're at a rave trying to find a sense of meaning, gospel is still near. That's the good news of Jesus. Not all the bad things I've done that's kept me from him, but the one perfect thing he did on that cross that brought me near, and now forever I am close to him. If you're looking for a way to follow Jesus, it just starts by letting him see you as you are. You don't have to pretend. If you're a raver, if you're an addict, if you are stuck in a place of abusing people, let Jesus come to you right now. And that could be the start of the rest of your life. I know it was for me.